Hello everyone, and this is Lori with 12 Paw Designs, and today we're going to be working with the free bunny body bundle that I have, and it's the bunny butt and a bunny head. And in today's tutorial we're going to make these really cute acrylic keychains, and there's something for the beginner, a little more advanced, etc. We're going to be doing the fobs, glittering, and things like that. But don't let what we're doing today deter you from using this, because you can actually make it, use the body parts to make cups and shirts. You can use the offset if you want, or not use the offset. They make really cute pajamas for the kids. You can use them on socks, etc. So don't let what we're doing in the project deter you thinking that this is the only thing you can use it for. So here's some ideas that we have, and let's get going, and we're going to make these acrylic keychains. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get our vinyl, and today I'm just going to use my silhouette portrait, and because it's a smaller design, so I'm going to use that. And this one actually requires quite a few different colors. And so first of all, I'm setting up my teal offset and the pink and everything else like that, and I'm going to cut everything. Now in the file, when you download it, there's the SVG, which you can use in your Cricut, your Silhouette. There's the DXF file, which is for the free version of Silhouette, EPS for other cutting softwares, and a PNG file. So if you want to make stickers or something like that, you can actually do that, or print and cut, sublimation, anything like that. So those files are all in there for you to use. So we're just going to go ahead and get everything cut out and go from there. The other thing in the file I want to point out is the ears. There is a solid ear and an ear that has everything cut out for it for layering. I originally went with the cutout one and then realized it would be a lot easier just to use the full ear. So I just went back and I actually cut the full ear. And found that out. And then once these are all done, we will start weeding. When I set up my second mat to cut, you'll notice that you put multiple colors on one mat. You don't need your camera to do this. You just lay out your pieces and you coordinate it inside your cutting software where you want to put everything. So I just did everything in there, and it works out really good, and no issues. And then while that's all cutting, I just actually started my weeding and getting everything ready to go. But you'll also notice too, if you notice, I made a couple of mistakes. I actually pulled up vinyl and I just used the cutting marks on the bottom of the transfer and just put them right back in there, and so it was no big deal whatsoever. Also, one thing to point out is that when you're cutting, before you actually pull your vinyl out of your machine, it does make a difference if it's your Cricut or your Silhouette or whatever. Always check to make sure the vinyl cut well, because if it didn't, you can always, while it's still in the machine, send it back through and recut again. Something else I want to point out, which is right here in the green, you'll notice that I started weeding it and I stopped. That's because all the little flower petals started pulling up, and so I ended up doing what's called a reverse weed, and I put my transfer tape on top of it and then pulled the major green part away from it from there. Next, I'm going to take my acrylic blanks, and most of these acrylic blanks will always come with a protective covering on it, so you pull that off. And then I actually, because these are, the head is on one side and the body part or the butt is on the other side, just to make sure my spacing was set up properly, I actually laid the acrylic disc on top of the one piece or one body part, and then laid the butt down, and then flipped it over and then laid the head. Now I set up the body and the head so it's symmetrical, so that they will actually come out even for you and lay properly. One thing you'll notice too, that when I made these like beginner version, more advanced, etc. You'll notice that the one I'm doing right now is the teal offset, and then you'll notice the other white one. It's a personal preference if you like to see that teal behind there, or if you don't, then you can just leave the teal offset off of them, like the other one I have right there, and you can actually see it's more of a white bunny body with that 3D effect going through the acrylic. The choice is yours either way. The other thing is, these are layered, and I cut the flowers out to help lay it flat. So you might want to have the PNG file open so that you can actually see the picture and lay accordingly. And I just kind of laid each piece out, and because they're smaller, I wasn't exactly worried about having them be exact. and there's a few spots where they weren't, and I just used my X-Acto knife and lifted them up and moved them around. It's crafting, and they look good, just as good, so whichever way you want to go with them. So go ahead and have some fun, layer them the way you want. Do the different colors. The other thing I found easy to help with as well is I use the tweezers, and you probably use your pick too, picking up the flower centers and picking up some of the smaller pieces and laying them down with my tweezers. The next thing is that I'm showing you here is I'm actually going to glitter the bunnies. And so what I did is I didn't do it with all of them, so if I would have done it thinking ahead of time, I would have sanded the whole disc prior to doing it. You want to rough up those edges a little bit so that the resin has something to bind to. And so you can see here that I was just kind of getting the edges and getting in there as best I could without affecting the vinyl. So then I was using a UV resin, and I put in some SAS glitz from one of the glitter companies, and I added that into the resin and mixed it up. And then basically what I'm doing is you can use your silicone brush or your metal spatulas, whichever you have, and you actually, it's like frosting a cookie, and you just lay it on top of it. I wanted that little extra glimmer to the keychains and things like that. Now again, this is more advanced. If you have this items, great. If you don't, not adding it takes nothing away from the little keychains. They look just as cute because I have some with and without, some with glitter, some clear. Whichever way you want to do it, it's completely up to you. But once you have it, the UV resin on there and the glitter mixed in, you can leave them sit in the sun, or you can actually put them under an LED light, and I use my LED light to do that. Before I use that, you can actually see I use my kitchen torch, and trying to make sure that I get all the bubbles out as possible and make sure that my resin is laying flat. One little trick I learned is I took my spatula and my metal disc, or my little stir stick, and I stuck it under the UV light. And so then instead of me touching the acrylic disc to see if everything was still tacky or good, I could actually just touch those and make sure that everything was working, or that everything was dry on them. And depending on your UV light, you might have to send them through a couple of times, a minimum of 4 minutes, you guys, on that when you're using a lower LED light, but you can tell by using your little stir stick. And I did both front and the back sides just to make sure that both sides had the glitter on it and things like that. So in this particular case, I did both sides, and then I actually had one where I just had the head on there, and I did that as well. You'll notice I use tinfoil here, and the tinfoil just helps to make sure that the other side is protected and has everything that it needs. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually work on our fobs and our little wristlets, whichever way you want to call it. And I have some really cute Easter faux leather here, and I'm just sending it through. Again, you guys, I'm using my portrait, and you can use your cameo as well. And I just use my Premier, or my auto blade, set it to 10, and let it cut through. And I had no issues whatsoever with it. Some people use the ratchet. With the Cricut people, there's the deep cut blades, things like that for cutting the faux leather. So it just depends on your machine and which way it needs to be cut. And then the other thing you want to do is you want to get a coordinating heat transfer vinyl that'll go on the back side of it. So once I cut my faux leather out, I cut the HTV out, and then I use my little mini press from Cricut. And you guys, if you need a mini iron, the mini irons are very nice, because here you can see I'm just on the desk. I used my little heat iron to at least get some heat on there, and then flipped it over to the HTV side and finished adhering everything from there, and then made sure everything was sticking well. So now let's go through and do the assembly. Now I actually, this is some stuff I got from Amazon, and I can actually post links to it in the video, at the bottom of the video. And basically I just got the parts to do the wristlets, added those pieces on. So you just fold them over. The HTV goes of course to the inside, and the faux leather to the outside. And I just crimped them on and crimped it together. And then I took the acrylic disc, I used jump rings, I used the keychains, and then added the cute little tassels in as a little extra decorative. So however you want to decorate your keychains after, you don't have to do the wristlets. If you don't have the hardware, you should even be able to probably even use the pliers to to crimp them together and things like that. I just happened to have it because I did some stuff in the fall, and so it was stuff that I had on hand. And then I just used my needle nose pliers to open and close the jump rings so I could add the tassels in, add the acrylic disc on, etc. So I just went through and did everything like that. So you can just see here, we're just putting everything together and assembling all of our little bunny parts. Again, there's different levels in this project. You pick what works for you. There's the beginner level where you're just putting vinyl down on the acrylic disc. You can just do one side, you can do both sides. You can glitter the one side and just have the head. You can use UV resin and add a little glitz glitter to them and add that little extra sparkle. Whatever you want to do, the project is totally yours, and there's these fun little body parts will work for you. So have some fun. When you're done with your projects, please come back to my blog and share your comments, share your pictures. Come back to the Facebook page and my Instagram page and share your ideas and things like that, because you guys, I really truly mean that I love seeing people's work and seeing what people are using and seeing people use creations that I created for them. So please, please, please come back and share. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys. So here's just a couple of finishes of what the finished product looked like. Again, different levels. Again, if you want the images for making the peeps, go check my blog out from last week as well. Bye, guys.